What you doing?
Hey, just finishing this claim to get Dave back on the road.
Nice. I wonder what Dave's doing.
You do your thing. We've got you covered.
Hey, is the power off on this?
I don't know. Just take it off.
Safety violation, unsafe work conditions.
In the construction trades unions, safety is our highest priority, and we train you to recognize and speak out on unsafe working conditions so that everyone arrives and goes home safely. Learn about careers in construction at georgiaconstructioncareers.com.
All right, good afternoon and welcome. It's a little loud, I think, but welcome to the 291st episode of the Alfa Insurance Georgia Prep Sports Drive for the GHSA State Title. It's Friday. We got big games to talk about, region championships on the line, and we're going to be joined by Commerce head coach Mark Hollars to talk about their big opportunity tonight against Rabun County. We'll talk about last night's results, preview the big matchup tonight between Grayson and Archer, and then look ahead to the volleyball semifinals. But we'll go ahead and get started with Coach Hollars. Hey, Coach, thanks so much for coming on.
Hey, thanks for having us. We appreciate you guys covering us.
Absolutely. And the Commerce program, it's historic. You guys probably have one of the longest playoff streaks in the state. We know how good the team is. I think what stands out, though, you talked about playing to your team's identity as being the key to the success. Can you just talk about that identity real quick?
Sure. We are a program that's been built on physical toughness for a long time around here. Commerce has always prided themselves in running the football, and the group of kids that we have right now really take a lot of pride in that. We've only thrown 12 passes in 9 games. Just stay true to who we are. We're a physical group up front, and we're blessed right now to have a very talented stable of running backs, and it complements with what we're trying to do on defense as well. We try to be physical over there, bring a lot of pressure. So it's important we just stay with who we are and not try and be something we're not.
Absolutely. And then last year, it looks like you guys took the number 3 seed out of the region. That matched you up with a really tough Tryon team round 1. You're in a smaller region. Just what was the emphasis that you guys put on these games to try to get that home field?
Well, our kids, they understand how special it is to play here at Ray Lamb Stadium, and if you can be at home, it definitely gives you. Last year, like you said, we went on the road, and it was about a 3-hour trip, and lost to a very good Tryon team. And our kids, under some point, we may have to be on the road, and you got to perform on the road. But if you can stay at home longer, it's definitely an advantage. So, that gives a little bit of added fuel for tonight. But to be honest with you, we're really just trying to play our best football tonight. We try to keep things simple for our kids, and just go out that week, improve each week, and play your best football so you have no regrets. And that's been our emphasis, and that's how we're going to handle tonight.
Yep, and man, in region action, you guys have looked really strong. Big win over Athens Christian, and then the Elbert County game was really huge. You guys jumped out to a big lead. What did you see from your team that night, just the way they executed in both sides of the football?
Well, last week we jumped on them early. Jaden Daniels had a big 75-yard touchdown run to open the game, and our defense got us the ball back, and 3 plays later we were in the end zone again. I think we had 4 carries for 150 yards and 2 touchdowns, and that definitely made things easier for us. But Elbert came back on us last year. We were up on them 14-0, and they came back on us and won that football game. So our kids knew this year, you're there to play 4 quarters, and you're there to keep the pressure on the entire time. And I thought our kids did a great job on the road last week, applying pressure. They were very good on offense, and we were able to put some pressure on their quarterback and kind of limit their big play ability. And then our offense, just like you said, it was 28-7. They were going in right before the half to make it 28-14, and we got a turnover there. And next thing you know, we have a 90-yard run, and it's 35-7 at halftime. And it was a heck of a first half for our kids.
Sure was. And then when I think about Elbert County, you mentioned their offense. They're very versatile. They're balanced. Obviously, that lead you guys built probably put them in a situation where they would have to pass their way back into it. But how has your defense been just stopping the run, forcing teams to kind of get off their game plan?
Well, for us on defense, we try to create pressure. Most of the teams we're playing are running the spread, and we're playing some really good quarterbacks. Elbert had two very good quarterbacks. Rabun County obviously has an outstanding quarterback. They make you defend the entire field. They got a screen game. They can throw the ball deep. They can throw the ball over the middle of the field. It's a lot of work. So for us, pressuring the quarterback is our deal, and just limiting the big play. I think that's important when you're playing these spread teams. Make them go the length of the field, make them earn it, and if you limit the big play, I think you got a chance.
And then what have you seen, you mentioned the physicality of your team, but just how they've been able to tackle in the open field this season? Has that been something you guys worked on since last year, and has that paid off?
That's a great point you bring up there. We weren't very good at that, I don't think, at the beginning of the year. We struggled with tackling in space at times, and our defense has really improved once we've come in, the second half of the season. They've gotten very weak, and we do spend a lot of time on tackling in space. And I think the other thing is you got to run to the football as a team. If you're just relying on one guy in space for some of these athletes, you can get yourself in trouble. So Commerce football has always taken pride in, being a hard-nosed but physical defense that runs to the ball. We have a picture in our weight room where we're playing Lincoln County. I believe it was in the semifinal, and there's 11 Commerce black helmets at the ball, and it's just a reminder to our kids every day we got to run to the ball. That doesn't take intense effort, and that's want to.
And that game was at Elbert County. That's another really just awesome venue. So there's some historic programs on the schedule. What do you expect just from the atmosphere tonight? Big opportunity for both teams, but just playing a team like Rabun County with the stakes like this.
It's special, Craig. It's an honor to Commerce, and it's an honor to be in a community that cares about football so much. When we're on the fans travel and we are at home, you can count on the entire community turning out. Our home bleachers will be filled. If you know how important that hill is, and that hill will be filled shoulder to shoulder up there tonight. And it's a special thing you don't take for granted. It's very special to play here at Ray Lamb Stadium.
Yeah, and it will be a big game also for your seniors. This is the regular season finale. You'll get a break before the playoffs, but talk about some of the underclassmen, Jaden Daniels, how they have just bought in, made the impact, and just helped lead you guys.
Yeah, we have 6 seniors on this team, and they've done a great job for us. We have a very strong junior class. Some of our big playmakers are in the junior class. Starts with Jaden Daniels, and everybody knows Jaden. He's rushed for almost 100 yards. He's got 16 touchdowns. He can go the distance every time he touches the ball, but what a lot of people don't know is he's getting it done on defense as well. His running mate back there is a young man named Tyshawn Wiggins at fullback for us. Tyshawn is, over 1,000-yard rusher as well this year. We've got Jakari Huff back there that can, he can go. He had that 90-yard touchdown last week before the half. He's a 10-900 guy. He's been really good for us at corner. So those are some of our juniors that have, stepped up for us. And it's an entire class. It's a great class.
And then a lot of times with programs like Commerce, you have some second generation, third generation guys. Are there any players like that on your team this year where they had relatives come through the program?
Without a doubt. The three guys that I just mentioned to you, two of them, their dads played here. Tyshawn's brothers played here. Our starting center, his dad, Russ Brown, comes and does a devotional with us each week. He's a pastor in town. He played here. His brother played here, which, is Boston's uncle. We have three of the Brown boys in the program right now. We have a lot of kids in the program that have Commerce roots. And I think that makes a difference because there's a great pride here, and those kids know, what's expected of them. They know what, the people that came in front of them have done, and we just expect effort. That's the big thing. If you give the effort and you play for each other, good things will happen.
And then another thing that stands out about Rabun County from some of the coaches, do they run a unique defensive front in terms of how many down linemen they have?
No, Rabun is a school, I'd say 50 or 3-4. A lot of people call it 3-4 today. They do a nice job, though, of getting their secondary involved and getting their, secondary down there in the box. So it's a 7-man box, but before the play's over, they can have 8 or 9 in there the way they play it. They do a really nice job of that.
That's right. And then you mentioned what you've seen with their offense, how it's really balanced. They've always had great quarterbacks. Where would you say this offense stacks up just with its ability to be balanced compared to some of the other teams you faced this year?
There's no question they make you defend the entire field. We talked about the passing game earlier, but I don't know names, Craig, but number 15 is an outstanding running back. Their quarterback, number 2, runs it as well. So you can't just get in a situation where you're defense only because they got a big old offensive line that protects number 2, and they run the ball very well. 15 is the kind of kid that can take it the distance if you fall asleep on him. So we've got to defend the entire field, and you got to defend run and pass. And
then you mentioned Jaden Daniels, Tyshawn Wiggins, both are over 1,000 yards, but then it's Jakari Huff who has had big performances. So what have you seen from him just getting involved, developing late in the season?
Well, Jakari is a tremendous athlete. He's got tremendous breakaway speed. He's done a great job for us the last 2 years on defense. He's been a stellar performer there. And again, Jaden and Tyshawn get a lot of the pub, but, there's only one football, and we can only give it to so many people. But when Jakari gets in there, he makes plays, and, he comes in there with some fresh legs there, and it's nice to have fresh legs that have an explosive athlete that can take it the distance. So he's really grown into this role and accepted it, and when he gets in there, he does a nice job. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention we have 2 H-backs, Craig, that don't touch the ball. And DeCane Williams is a senior, Hoke Hogan is a senior, and they really do an unbelievable job of blocking for us. You were talking about lineage in the program. DeCane Williams' dad is Monte Williams, who is the all-time leading rusher in Georgia. He rushed for over 8,000 yards here at Commerce. So those guys do an unselfish job each week to really make us go.
Yep, that's right. And Monte, of course, got into our Georgia High School Football Hall of Fame in the inaugural class. That was very exciting, just part of that Commerce identity, the all-time leading rusher. So you have the home run ability with the speed that some of these guys possess, but talk a little bit about the offensive line, just what you've seen from them just throughout this year coming together and being able to just execute well.
Well, that's where it all starts. We've got senior Joey Duncan, who's been a 3-year starter for us there. Next to him is Mike Duncan, who got some time last year as a sophomore, who has really developed this year into dominant offensive linemen. I mentioned Boston Brown earlier. We've got Logan Gunner there, who's a junior. We've got Braxton Epps over there, who's a junior. Braxton started for us last year as a sophomore, so they've grown into their positions. They've gotten the experience, and all those guys have been committed in the weight room. We do run some tight end sets where we have Corey Stuber and Bryson Fleeman, that, again, they haven't caught a pass. We haven't thrown a pass to them. They're very unselfish. They're willing to block. They know who we are. They know we're trying to win football games here, and they just get the job done. So we wouldn't be where we're at without those guys, that's for sure.
Yep, and I think the thing that stands out about this Class A Division I is it does have just a lot of historic programs in it, ones that have won state titles in the past, have produced absolute star power, that have gone on and done great things. But what's your overall sense of this Class A Division I and then the opportunity for your team this year?
Craig, it's going to be tough. You look across the state and you see some of these programs that are near us that have great tradition. Obviously, Prince Avenue's had a great run here lately and explosive. We played Tryon last year, who has tremendous tradition out there in the northwestern side of the state. Swainsboro, tremendous speed and athleticism. And, we could go on and on here. Rabun and Elbert are right there in the mix that, great programs. Rabun's, obviously been dominant in region play and made great runs in the playoffs. So it's going to be a dogfight to go on a run in High 1A, that's for sure.
It sure is, and yeah, it got so much stronger. You had teams from 2A coming down with Swainsboro. You had private schools, so it's just a really exciting classification. It's going to be outstanding. But, Coach, thank you so much for coming on. I know you guys had the game tonight. Best of luck, and we'll be watching it closely.
Thank you so much for having us, and thank you for promoting high school football.
You bet. All right, go Tigers. So there you have it, an exciting matchup, Rabun County at Commerce. It will be the season finale for them, an opportunity to win a region championship. It would be their second since 2020, and then I think that'd make 3 in the last 20 years. So they've been in the playoffs, I think, every year since the 70s. I think it is the longest streak in the state. But this is an opportunity to get that home field. They've got a great team this year. But let's go ahead. We'll take a break. And we'll be back on the other side.
What you doing?
Hey, just finishing this claim to get Dave back on the road.
Nice. I wonder what Dave's doing.
You do your thing. We've got you covered.
Hey, does it matter if this leaks?
It don't matter to me. Can't see it from my house.
Illegal use of hands, improper training.
GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com has 14 different highly skilled trades with tuition-free training in our certified apprenticeship programs to train you the right way. Find your career at GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com.
All right, welcome back. And so also in Class A Division I, another matchup to watch tonight is going to be Swainsboro at Bleckley County. I think those are the two premier ones. Swainsboro is the state runner-up, a big-time matchup in Region 2. Swainsboro won 28-21 last year, and that will be very interesting. Obviously, the big player in that game is going to be DeMello Jones, one of the most outstanding players in the state. He is a Georgia commit, and we saw what he did in that state championship last year against Prince Ave. He did it all. He played both sides of the football. It was pretty incredible having to play defense against that Prince Avenue Christian offense and then going in the next snap, making plays offensively. So big time matchup. But let's talk about last night's games. There were a handful of them. I think big results that stand out for me. You had Westminster beating Southwest DeKalb. That region is in a pretty deep log jam, so that was a big victory for them to guarantee a playoff spot. You had Stevenson beating Holy Innocents, which that's big because Westminster also beat Holy Innocents earlier. That was 9-3, so that puts them ahead of the Bears, and a big win for Stevenson. You had Kell clinch the region title in Region 6 in 5A, 29-10 victory over North Springs last night. You had Benedictine close out its perfect 10-0 season against Islands, 57-0. They'll be the top seed out of Region 3. Dunwoody continues to have an outstanding season. They improved to 8-1 with a 32-18 win over Riverwood. That's one of the best seasons they've had in a while under head coach Mike Nash. And then the big one that's going to certainly impact the buzz around our game tonight was South Gwinnett, 31-28 win over Newton. So Archer beat South Gwinnett last week, and they did it without their typical starting quarterback, Jordan Doe. They won. It was a pretty close game, but they were in control pretty much the whole time nonetheless. And so I knew South Gwinnett was a good team, but that's a huge win for them. And Newton, you go from leading the region and potentially being on a path to take the region title to then back-to-back tough losses. So I'm pulling up the standings heading into our matchup right now. And Archer obviously still at the top.
I think with the win, I think Archer clinches because even if they would lose next week to Newton, Grayson would be at 2 region losses and Parkview would be at 1, and they already beat Parkview.
That's right. So Archer, yeah, they play Newton next, correct? Yep. So Newton already has the 2 losses. Archer got the big win over Parkview. So Parkview's at 2-1, Grayson's at 2-1, Archer's at 3-0, Newton's at 2-2 with just 1 game left. So Grayson, what happens if Grayson wins? Who does Grayson close with? Parkview. All right, so let's say if Grayson beats Archer and then beats Parkview the next week, they'll win the region. And then there would be I don't think there's a scenario where you'd have a potential 3-way tie. Nope. So that does sort it out a bit. Nonetheless, that gives Archer an even bigger opportunity. You win tonight, you already have it in the bag, a number 1 seed. I think the big, I'm trying to think, South Gwinnett, now that they're 1-3, see who they play in their finale, because they might be able to technically sneak back in. They play Brookwood. So, yeah, they do need help, but if South Gwinnett beats Brookwood next week and then Archer beats Newton in the finale, that's going to put South Gwinnett into the playoffs and Newton would miss. That would be a crazy way to close out this season, but I thought that was just what stood out last night. Tucker also had a big win, 47-6 over Lithonia. I think that's going to set up a region championship against Arabia Mountain coming up. Should be a really good game. Arabia Mountain has looked really strong this year. You had Monroe beating Columbus 57-7. They're going to get home field in the playoffs. And then I think that's it for last night. Are there any Saturday games? I don't think so. Nope. So all the action will be tonight. And let's just pull up my top games. All right, so during our broadcast, we're going to be covering all these games on the bottom ticker throughout the night. And then we're going to have coverage during halftime with updates of the games. And then our post-game show, we'll obviously talk about what we saw in the Archer-Grayson matchup. We'll break that down. We'll have the players of the game. But then we're going to go over the biggest results. And if there's any playoff seedings determined, we will certainly update you on that. So one of the big games we're going to focus on, obviously, Rabun County at Commerce. The winner is going to clinch Region 8. You have Rome at Creekview. That is another region championship game. Creekview already has one loss. They lost to Sequoia. Rome still unbeaten, so a Creekview win would force a three-way tie, but a Rome win would really help out Sequoia. All right, you got Perry at Spalding. That is the season finale for Spalding. Perry still has one game left after that. It is the region title, and the big storyline in that one is Perry quarterback Coulter Jen, who transferred over from Peach County. He missed the last game against Baldwin with an injury. They still won, but they had to come back, and Perry was rolling before that. Coulter Jen is one of the best quarterbacks in the state. A lot of people consider him kind of the best unranked senior. He's got great size, 6'4". He's having an incredible year. So that's the big storyline. If he's playing, I think Perry can get the win. It's going to be really tough, though, if they have to go without him. Perry does have a great running game they can rely on, but they're going to need the passing game against this Spalding team. All right, Peachtree Ridge at Norcross. That one will be televised over on GPB, I believe. This is the region championship opportunity. Peachtree Ridge is still undefeated. Norcross has put itself in position to win the region as well. Peachtree Ridge already has a big win over North Gwinnett. Norcross still has to play North Gwinnett. So the only scenario for North Gwinnett would be a Norcross win, and then North Gwinnett would beat Norcross the next week. But if Peachtree Ridge wins, they're going to secure it. Parkview at Brookwood. That's a big game because it's an annual rivalry. And just with last night's results with Newton South Gwinnett, who knows what can happen at this point. Pace Academy at Stockbridge. I highlighted this one in 4A because I think it's going to be very intriguing, because Pace Academy, they're going to be playing basically for their season against what I consider one of the toughest teams in 4A. Pace Academy lost to Luella last week, and that has them at 3-2, along with McDonough and Lovett. And so you have Stockbridge and Luella at the top. And so if Stockbridge beats Pace Academy, that's going to put them at 3-3, and that will come down to the final game of the season, where I think they're going to play Lovett. One sec. No, they'll play Mount Zion, but Lovett already beat Pace Academy. So the tiebreakers aren't going in their favor with Lovett or Luella. And then you have McDonough in the mix also, which is going to play Luella tonight. So we'll be watching that score. But a Stockbridge win would secure the region title for them. And they have not lost since they opened the year against Colquitt and then played Douglas County. So two tough opponents right there. Let's go back to my top 30. Lumpkin County at Dawson County. It's a big matchup. Lumpkin County survived 4 overtimes to keep its perfect season going last week. They're led by head coach Heath Webb, who used to be at Gainesville. Dawson County is their final opponent to try to clinch that region in Class 3A. and they will certainly want to do that. There's some tough teams in 3A that are looming that you want to avoid, and home field is going to be huge for that. All right, Lowndes at Richmond Hill in 7A. All the teams pretty much are going to make the playoffs out of that. It's a 5-team region, but I think this is going to determine the number 4 seed. Let me just check. Yep, so you have Lowndes and Richmond Hill both at 0-2 in the region, so the winner is going to guarantee themselves a playoff spot. All right. You got Dalton at Cartersville. This will be the season finale for both of these teams. The winner is going to win the region. Dalton's coming off a big win over Calhoun. And then Calhoun's going to be playing Cass, and they need a win. If Calhoun loses and then some other things happen with the Hiram game, which I think Hiram will be able to win. They're playing Woodland Stockbridge, who has not won in the region yet. So let's assume Hiram wins. If Cass wins, they're in the playoffs. So there is a 23-year playoff streak on the line for Calhoun against Cass. Cass is obviously struggling the last few weeks with injuries. However, with the season on the line and a potential playoff berth, we'll see if they go to Sokovie White, and we'll see if they can find answers. All right, you got Alpharetta at Blessed Trinity, a very intriguing matchup. I think it's going to be one of the better games in the state. Alpharetta has a lot of size, great playmakers all over the field, a ton of speed. Najee highlighted their linebacker, Aston Moore, yesterday, only a sophomore, just a really impressive player that's all over the field. He'll have his hands full with this Blessed Trinity offense, and then just the playmakers they have, whether it's Brooks Goodman, the receiving targets, and then the running ability. So big matchup in 6A right there. All right. Central Carroll at Northwest Whitfield. Central Carroll, I think they still have to play Heritage Catoosa. So depending on the result of that, they could clinch the title. If Heritage wins, it would come next week. But they are undefeated, and Northwest Whitfield is a dangerous team in that Region 7 that can light up the scoreboard. They have a great offense, so I think that could be a very high-powered game and certainly one to watch. Charlton County at Clinch County, Class A Division II showdown right there. Charlton County is ranked. I think they are a sleeper in that classification, and we'll see if they can take care of business on the road. All right, Collins Hill at Central Gwinnett. Both teams need to win to make it into the playoffs, and that's what's at stake in that one. East Coweta at Westlake. Carrollton is going to achieve the region title after their win over Westlake and previous win over East Coweta. So this is going to be for the number 2 seed. Eastside at Winder Barrow. Winder needs a win to save its season and avoid missing out on the playoffs, and then an Eastside victory would be big for them because they're going to play Jefferson next week for the Region 8 title. Gainesville at North Forsyth, that's going to be a region championship game. We'll see if anyone can challenge the Red Elephants in that region. Last year, Gainesville was very successful in that region. They weren't challenged that much, and it looks like unless North Forsyth can pull something off, it looks like they're going to cruise to another region title. Greene County at Aquinas, that's another top 10 matchup for the region title. And then Jones County at Warner Robins, a huge 5A matchup. They obviously have a lot of common opponents and familiarity. With Warner Robins, their season turned around when they had that last-second win over Ola. Ola went into it undefeated. Their team that was very senior-led, They had a big lead on them, but Warner Robins was aggressive. They came back, won in overtime on a 2-point conversion. Well, Jones County played Ola after that and just completely cruised past them, a huge win. So that's how they matched up against Ola. But then in recent weeks, I think Warner Robins has found its stride. They obviously have a new coaching staff this year. Their quarterback, Judd Anderson, transferred over from Jones County. So there's just a ton of storylines in that game and big Region 1 implications. And I was looking at the 5A bracket a little bit ago. So here's who the top seed out of Region 1 and 5A would play. They play Region 4 in the first round. Hold up. Okay, they play Region 4 in round 1. That's Tucker, Arabia Mountain, Chambly, and Decatur. And then the winner of Region 3, Team 3, and Region 2, Team 2 in the second round. That would potentially... Sorry, they're in Region 2. Let me reset real quick. So, yeah, Jones County, Warner Robins are in Region 2, not Region 1. Region 2 is going to be paired with Region 3 in the first round. And then they would play the winner of Region 1, Team 2 in the second. Let me see. So, yeah, you just want to avoid teams like Coffee and Ware County, those dangerous number 2 seeds. So, a lot on the line. And then another strong number 2 seed is going to be GAC after Kel's win. And then I think every team in Region 7, whether it's Cartersville, Dalton, Hiram, or Calhoun or Cass, is going to be another challenger. All right, so let's continue with the top 30. LaGrange at Fayette County. LaGrange had its big win over Trinity Christian last week. There's a 4-way tie at the top of that region. I think they should be able to win this one. Fayette County is out of the playoff picture. But with the other teams in Region 4 squaring off, if LaGrange can handle business, it would set up for the second straight year potentially a region championship game against Troop to close the season. Troop is going to be playing Trinity Christian tonight. That's another big-time matchup to watch. They're both 4-1 in the region, and with all those teams locked up, you need to win this game or else you might miss out on the playoffs. That's what happened to Stars Mill last year with a 7-3 record and just being on the outside of a 4-way tie. And then Whitewater is going to play Riverdale, and they can keep their playoffs alive as well with a win that would put them at 3-3 and just one game back heading into the final week of the regular season. So basically, any of these 4-1 teams, if Whitewater wins the next 2 weeks and then either of those teams loses the next 2 weeks, which in the case of Trinity Christian and Troop, one of those teams is going to lose. So each of these weeks is just going to be huge to avoid completely missing out on the playoffs. All right, then Mundy's Mill at Woodward Academy, certainly a game to watch. Woodward had a great outing last week against Jonesboro. They held them scoreless outside of a kickoff return touchdown. Mundy's Mill is a big physical team. They've been outstanding all year long, competitive in every matchup. They'll have their hands full, but I think this is a big opportunity for them. And every team in Clayton County and in that region knows that Woodward Academy is the standard, and they want to get the win against them. All right, Marietta at Harrison. With North Paulding losing last week to McEachern, that shook things up a bit. Marietta is currently ahead of Harrison in the standings, but this is big with that number 2 seed still up for grabs. You also have Mary Persons at Upson Lee for the region title. Mary Persons been running the ball exceptionally well recently. They did it against Prince Ave a few weeks ago. Osborne at Walton. Osborne suffered its first loss of the year last week to Wheeler. They should still make the playoffs with their wins over Cherokee and Kennesaw Mountain, but this is going to be a tough matchup for them, and then they still have to play North Cobb after this. We'll see how Walton handles business heading into the final stretch of their season, and they could clinch the region title with a victory. And I'm almost to the end of it. I think I got them all. Valdosta at Colquitt County. Valdosta's been they've been hot lately. One of the tough losses before this hot streak in the region was to McEachern, but McEachern is suddenly looking like the real deal, so I don't really downplay that loss too much. We'll see if they can rise to the occasion, though, against the Kings of South Georgia. And then Westside Macon at Baldwin. That's the region with Perry and Spalding, so this is a game that will determine the number 3 and number 4 seed. But that's it for the top 30. We'll go ahead and take a quick break, and then we'll close it out with the volleyball.
Dang, where you get this car?
You need to join the union.
The union?
Absolutely. You can get 10 of these.
Union construction workers earn the highest wages with the best benefits and the most protection in the construction industry. Find your career in construction. Go to GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com and start your future today.
What you doing?
Hey, just finishing this claim to get Dave back on the road.
Nice. I wonder what Dave's doing.
You do your thing. We've got you covered.
All right, welcome back. So let's start with Class 7A. The Final Four will be tomorrow, 5 p.m. and 3 p.m. at Marietta High School. The first matchup is going to be between Cherokee and North Cobb. North Cobb was ranked number 1 for a lot of the season, but then Walton beat them in the region title to get the number 1 seed. And I think all these teams have previously squared off. In the case of North Cobb and Cherokee, they played way back on August 29th, and North Cobb fell 3-2, so Cherokee got the win in that one. So it will be a rematch. Super competitive game last time. Definitely one to watch. And then with Walton, they're going to play Hillgrove. I think they've also played this season. Yep, they played back on September 16th, and Walton came away with a 2-0 victory. North Cobb fell to Walton in the region title, but they also split, so these teams are familiar. They've all beaten each other at least once this year. All right, in 6A at Jonesboro High School tomorrow. At 3 p.m., you're going to have St. Pius against Alpharetta. Alpharetta is the number 2 ranked team. They had a 32-game win streak snapped right before the playoffs by Pope. And then on the other side, Pope is going to be playing Blessed Trinity, a big matchup, and Region 7 opponents. They've all played multiple times this season. Region 7 has Pope, BT, and Alpharetta still in it, where St. Pius beat the other team from Region 7, Johns Creek, last round 3-2. So we'll see how that one plays out. We could get a potential with Alpharetta and Pope in the finals, and Alpharetta would have a chance to avenge that loss in the region tournament. All right, in 5A, very exciting classification this year. You're going to have at 11 a.m. at Westminster, Dalton against GAC. This is another rematch. Dalton entered the playoffs number 3 in the polls because they beat GAC in the regular season. GAC beat Kell in the region tournament to get the number 2 seed. They've advanced to the Final Four. Kell beat Dalton in the regular season, but then obviously lost to GAC that second time around. So the number 1 seed, the number 1 team is McIntosh, and they're going to be playing Kell. So Kell, McIntosh, and then Dalton, GAC. Kell has not faced McIntosh this season. They have faced the other 2 teams. So I'm going to be looking at that one closely. There's a lot of big opportunities for programs that have not necessarily been in that position before. Dalton's having a historic season. Kell is having a historic season as well. McIntosh and GAC have both previously won state titles. In Class 4A, number 1 ranked Pace Academy is going to play Central Carroll. Central Carroll, I got to admit, they were probably the lowest on my rankings out of any of the teams in Class 4A, but they've had a really strong playoff run. They beat Riverdale in the first round as the number 2 seed, then a great Holy Innocents team in the Sweet 16. They beat Troop in the quarterfinals, and now they're going to have to play the number 1 ranked Pace Academy Knights. So a really brutal playoff stretch, but this is a chance to beat the favorite and advance to the finals. And then on the other side, you have Westminster and Lovett. These games will be at Westminster, and they have played each other multiple times. Obviously, longtime rivals. Another thing I'll mention about Kell, though, who did fall to GAC, Kell has a perfect record at home this season. So they're going to be on a neutral court, but they've obviously played a tough stretch in the playoffs also to prepare them for this with wins over Calhoun and Midtown. All right, in Class 3A, number 1 ranked Sandy Creek is going to play Hebron Christian, and then number 2 ranked Oconee County is going to play Hart County. Great programs right there, another star-powered Final Four. In Class 2A, number 1 ranked Landmark Christian is going to play Savannah Arts, and then number 2 ranked Mount Perrin is going to play Model. Trying to think. Landmark Christian's coming out of Area 2, Savannah Arts out of Area 3, Mount Perrin out of Area 6, and Model out of Area 7. So no common region opponents in that Final Four. Teams from all over the state. All right, and then finally in Class A, you're going to have Mount Vernon against Whitfield Academy, and then Mount Bethel against Mount Pisgah. All these teams are out of Area 6. Mount Bethel was the number 4 seed, Mount Pisgah the number 1, Mount Vernon was the number 3, and then Whitfield Academy the number 2. Obviously, they've all played each other throughout the season. The big thing for Mount Bethel, though, they were ranked number 1 throughout last year. This year, after falling in the state finals in a heartbreaker, I think that was to, was it Armucci? But yeah, they lost with a young team last year. Then throughout this season, they played 7A schools. They played some of the best programs in the state, didn't have the best record, obviously played in the toughest region in Class A. That's why we see 4 teams from it in the Final Four. but they've gotten healthy again and then have looked outstanding in the playoffs. They beat Armucci. I think that was the revenge game, 3-1 as the number 4 seed in the first round. Swept Prince Avenue Christian, swept Hurd County, and now they're going to play Mount Pisgah once again. So huge matchup. So I'll be on Saturday. We'll have championship previews posted next week as soon as those results come in, and then the championships will be here before we know it. But let's look at the matchup tonight. Just some thoughts on it. I do have the two deeps right here. For Grayson, I'm really excited to see Jeff Davis, their quarterback. His numbers this year have been tremendous. He is throwing very efficiently. He's taken the next step. He's just been a great leader on the field. It's the case with both of these teams. They've played really difficult schedules. They're going to be battle tested, but he's really done a good job of getting his playmakers involved, and he's playing with a lot of confidence. So he'll be a player to watch. I think he can have a big-time performance. Kylan Fox is always a mismatch. That's Grayson's incredible tight end. He's also a baller on the basketball court. Huge mismatch. And then John Sinius, he's a guy that we saw in the Corky Kell when Grayson was struggling. Matt and Rusty are in the booth. They said, man, they really need to get John Sinius involved in this game. Well, they find him, and he scores a big touchdown, gets Grayson going. So he's been the biggest open field threat for them. He can do it all. He can house kickoffs. He can take screens and slants the distance, and he can make incredible catches. He's going to be a constant impact player going up against that Archer defense. Then obviously with Dylan Elder, Amari Alston, Elijah Miller, the Grayson run game, we'll see how balanced they're going to be defensively. Tyler Atkinson, the sophomore linebacker, had a defensive touchdown last week. One of the best players and prospects to come through the state of Georgia. He earned the starting job on Grayson's defense as a freshman. That's how talented he is. That's something that rarely happens with a program like Grayson. He's strong. He's taken the next step, and not only can he defend the pass, stop the run, he can rush the passer. He's going to be all over. And if Archer gets in situations where they know they're going to have to pass, or if it's a 3rd and 10 and they know where the sticks are, you know Tyler's going to be the impact player on that. All right, so then let's go to the Archer offense. Jordan Doe, the quarterback, what's his status going to be? He missed the last 2 games. He missed the Parkview game in the second half with an injury. That's when William Wallace, last year's starting quarterback and big-time playmaker, that's when he stepped in as quarterback. In that situation, William Wallace is like A.J. Watkins from Norcross. He can play quarterback, but you'd rather have him at receiver, stretching the field and basically eating up double teams. He went viral in our first week of the season on 4th down against North Forsyth, had one of the best catches we've seen. It made the Sports Center top plays. He tipped it to himself over multiple guys and came down with one of the most difficult catches I've seen. So will he be at quarterback? Will he be at receiver? That's how they beat Parkview. He tore him up in the first half at receiver, went in and did his thing at quarterback, but we will see. And then Jonathan Stafford, sophomore receiver for Archer. This is a guy that has had multiple games where he's getting 13 catches. They're going to feed him the ball. He's an incredible route runner. He's precise. He is dependable. He gets open at will. This is a great defense he's going up against, though. So how involved will he be early on? I think that's going to be a key. And then I think he also threw a touchdown pass last week. So Archer's had to get creative, and that was in the win over South Gwinnett. Defensively, it's going to be about the pass rush, trying to get to Jeff Davis and make it as difficult as possible. But Archer, their team that I'm sure when we talked to them before the game, they know that a lot of outlets like us, maybe guilty as charged, weren't giving them enough credit heading into this season. They were 2-8 last year, and then not many people obviously picked them in the Parkview game, but they showed up big time in that one, got the win, and they have a lot of exciting players. They're going to be at home, and this is yet another test. They know how good Grayson is. They've been squaring off multiple seasons in a row. Last year, Grayson won pretty significantly, but that was during Archer's 2-8 season when all these guys were super young and starting for the first time. So we'll see what happens. It's going to be exciting. We'll be there live at 8 o'clock. Hope everyone tunes in. Go to Score ATL for more information, and be sure to tune in. We'll see you next week.
What you doing?
Hey, just finishing this claim to get Dave back on the road.
Nice. I wonder what Dave's doing.
You do your thing. We've got you covered.